Hey everyone, here we go with the equipment tour part number 1. Got the shed open here. This is actually my back shed. I was gonna start in the front shed first, but then now today, you know, we got breeding season coming up for the ducks and geese, and I got to get my pairs sorted. And today I picked up some corn stalk bales, and they're too big for my skid loader, so I got to get out the Wrangler, the orange hot rod here. So we'll do the second shed here first. So here we are. Hopefully this comes in pretty good. Everything's packed in here pretty tight, but I'm gonna try to, hopefully I can get over everything and do a run through. So here up first is my Super 88 diesel. If you've watched some of my earlier videos, you've probably seen it already. It's kind of my main go-to tractor. Use it a lot. This is actually the second Oliver that I have ever owned. I got it because my first Oliver, which we'll get to in a second here, I wanted to do some fixing on it, and I needed something to kind of take its place, so I had something to use. So I got this. When I got it, it was painted like a 880. Had you know, the green just like it is, and then the grill and the wheels were white. So I actually ended up changing that, and then I put brand new back tires on it shortly after I got it as well. You know, thankfully that was back when rubber was pretty cheap. You know, now I put on 14.9 38 Firestone Field and Roads, and then 2 tires and 2 tubes. That was $1,100 at that time, and now I don't think you could even buy one of these tires for that price. So thankfully I bought them when I did. And like, it was like 2 years later, the price on them just about doubled. Okay, here's my very first Oliver tractor. Just kind of get crawled over everything here. And I suppose too, I could go. This Super 88 is a 1958. Here is my row crop 77. It's a 1951 gas engine. This actually belonged to my mom's dad, and we got it off of his estate, and I did a complete restoration on it. The paint might not be the greatest, the decals may not be great, but you know, I'm not too fussy with my restorations because I still intend on using them, you know, for their design purpose. And, you know, this is also one of my other go-to tractors that I use all the time. The hydraulics could use a little bit of work because they work just fine, but they'll settle. So if you got a heavy implement and you're not using it, you got to grab the handle and raise it up every so often. It's a really good tractor. It starts good all the time, always runs perfect. Had to do some work on the carburetor once. The one thing I did change on it is it's set up with this Oliver's hydroelectric system. So how you would actually control the hydraulics is with these electronic toggle switches, and they didn't always work. I mean, they did work, but then sometimes they didn't. So I ended up taking the whole unit apart and got the different nubs for here so I could attach a set of factory handles on, and now I just use those instead. You know, with the hydroelectric, there is little nubs that stick out of here, but they're real small, and they just got a couple flat spots machined in them, so it's kind of like in an emergency situation, if you need that implement to move, you would put a little crescent wrench on her, and that's how you'd work the hydraulics. But the nubs for that style, they're not big enough for them handles to grip onto. Next is my Gale 125 Mixall grinder mixer. I bought this off of my best friend's estate from his mom. It's a real good mixer. I really like it. It's got hydraulic drives on the auger and the feed. He always let me use it at the beginning. You know, he didn't have cows, so I did some fixing on it for him and stored it over here, and then he let me use it, and then he got cows, so then we kind of went back and forth on, you know, who had it and who used it. But it's really, really nice unit. Up next is my 1964 1800C. I got this tractor out of Goodhue, Minnesota. I had it running a little bit when I first got it, and I had the carburetor kept giving me issues. It's one of them aluminum Marvel Sheeblers. Plan on getting a different cast iron Zenith for it. They make a brand new one that should just interchange with it and work pretty good, I guess. I did put on the front the 7.5 18 tires on the front. I think it kind of looks better with them tall, skinny tires. I mean, at first it had mismatched truck tires. And then this one too. I mean, I bought it not running, and it just about has brand new back rubber on it. And I have a set of band duals for it too. Them I got at later time. Not that I really need duals on it, but I thought, why not? Here is a new idea silage blower. I don't really make silage, but I got this because I have the idea that I'm going to shred corn stalks for bedding, and then maybe blow it into my silo, just because, you know, it's good storage space, and I can't really use it for much else. I mean, right now I have my straw bales all piled in there, but eventually this is going to be the plan, is you know, shred corn stalks, and I'll blow it in there to store it. And then I just gotta drive up with the skid loader, and then I pitch it out into the bucket and then go to whatever pen needs it. I have to just bear with me trying to get around here, that I hold the camera somewhat decent and not fall. And you know, sorry it's partly covered, but that's my Oliver 62T twine tie baler. Used it a fair bit. It actually, probably can't see it. I think I'll have to move to a different spot here. It's actually got a Model 19 thrower on it. Works really good. At first I always had issues with tie-in. So I, you know, it just needed some use, get everything shined up and working good. And yeah, I mean, it works real good now, and I had to make some adjustments, and then I figured out too that if I run 7200 twine, it works better. Okay, up next is one of Oliver's pieces of equipment that tends to get everybody all hot and bothered. Ooh, look out. It is the Oliver 840 self-propelled silage chopper. And as you can see, I got corn everywhere. The squirrels have been having fun, and the sparrows are certainly making a mess out of everything. Got a three-row corn head for it. I also have some other heads for it too that are Fox brand. And that's kind of one of the big things about it. Everybody, oh, that's made by Fox. And you know what? No, it is not. Oliver built it. It is designed like a Fox, but it is actually Oliver's units. They're a little different, but some of the parts do interchange. And they actually put this chopping unit on an Oliver 525 combine chassis. So the transmission, the operator's platform, the drive axles and all that, that's a 525 combine. Let's see if I can move around here. Right now it's just partially disassembled because the chute is too tall for this shed. Power plant in this hot rod is a 478 GMC V6 gas engine. I've had it running a couple of times. Always try and run it at least once a year, but last year I didn't get it running. So hopefully, you know, this year warms up a little bit more and that I can get in here easier. I want to get this one up and running and up by the shop and maybe start messing with it some. Okay, next is a Oliver 438 mower conditioner. This one was actually kind of fun. I haven't used it yet. Part of the pieces for the sickle drive are broken, so I got to find some pieces for it. Other than that, it is complete. When I got it, it was kind of interesting. We loaded this on my little trailer sideways. Kind of made the guy a little nervous about that, but that was really the only way I could get it home because it was a ways away. Here's another cool one. This one took me a long time to get purchased. I talked with the guy about it multiple times, and it took some time to get a price set up for it and some other stuff I bought from him. But this is a 4-row pipe mount corn planter. I mean, look at them seed boxes. They're just real nice looking. The graphics are good. It was always kept in the shed and it was covered. The one cool thing is they actually had, when it was sitting in the shed, they had the lids open and they had stovepipes on here to actually extend the bushel capacity. So that was pretty neat, but they must have took them off because I don't remember seeing them when I went and picked them up. But this and some other things, that was like a 3-year deal in the making to get them bought. I was tickled pink when that stuff came home. Next one is a Oliver P38 drill. Steel wheels. I actually have a set of rubber tires for it in the other shed. That was kind of a neat thing about it. So when I took the road trip to go look at that chopper, the guy showed me his Oliver collection of stuff and his brother's, and he took me out in the shed, one shed that was his parts shed, and there was a set of rubber tires for this thing on the rims and everything in good condition. And he pretty much said, you know, oh, if you want them and got a use for them, you can have them. But unfortunately, I'm afraid to put them on because I don't want the tires to get wrecked. So I don't know. It doesn't do much good to have them, I guess. And as you can see, them nasty sparrows are just wreaking havoc in here. I thought it was bad when I had a peacock roosting in the shed. I think them sparrows is worse. Next here, we got a Oliver 504 Swatter. I've been looking for a Swatter for a long time. I actually called on a handful. They were either, you know, too far away or couldn't get them hauled, or by the time most of the reason why was by the time I called on them, they were sold already. This one I managed to get, which I was always looking for one with a liquid cooled engine. I didn't really want an air cooled Wisconsin, but it was kind of like, well, if that's what I get, that's what I get. But pretty happy I got one with the liquid cooled GM 4-cylinder. The head I got on a trailer outside. It's a 16-foot. The plan is to hopefully narrow it down to about a 10 or a 12 foot. And what was it? You know, when I went and hauled this thing, we actually loaded it up on the trailer whole, and then I took the head off, pulled the power unit back off, and turned the head sideways, and then got this all shoved back on in one load. But, you know, for the life of me, I don't know how I realized that when I loaded it, that the drive parts for the sickle were broke. And they could easily be welded back together, but how I didn't realize that there was something that needed to be taken apart, and I didn't take it apart, and it wasn't there. But that flat section over there, that's actually a toolbox under there. So all the pieces for it were in there. They just have to be welded back together. See your Oliver 82 sickle mower. This is one of them semi-mount ones, bolts to the drawbar. I had a 415. It was a trailer type. Ended up selling it once I got this one, because I thought for backing up into corners or getting in tight spaces, a semi-mount would be a much better option. So I went with this one. I didn't really have to sell the 415 pull type, but I thought, what did it pay to keep it? I don't know, I suppose we can go through some of these other ones too, but we're getting kind of long in the video. But John Deere 650 compact 2-cylinder diesel, that belongs to Dad. Kind of got that for doing dirt work amongst his newly planted trees, since it's smaller. Need to get some weights for it and different back tires though. It was a turf machine. Craftsman lawn tractor. I taught my nephews how to drive that around, so they like driving that one around the yard. It's pretty fun. Then I'll hop on one of my other ones and I'll chase them with it or whatnot. It gets pretty comical. And then Ego Alice 1718H, got a tiller on it. That belongs to Dad too for working in the garden. We had one just like it when I was younger, but it got damaged when we had one of our sheds fall down. Still have the tiller from it, but the tractor went bye-bye, along with parts of the hitch. But still have a spare tiller for it, and then we got this one off an auction how many years later. See, your other thing, I suppose, is I got, all my corn that I pick. I don't really have a decent spot to store it yet. I'd like to make a bin, or a corn crib or something, but for now, I fill the wagons up, park them in the shed here. It works as long as I can keep the squirrels out. And one here, another tractor yet. This is my Oliver Hart Par 70. This one, I actually, when I bought it, the guy said it was loose, and I go to look at it and it was actually stuck. So I soaked it for a while, couldn't get it loose, and finally I just said the heck with it, left the spark plugs out and hit the starter, and she turned over. Runs good, smokes a lot. On certain days, if the wind's coming from the wrong way, this one will almost give you carbon monoxide poisoning even though you're outside. I got different axle housings for it off on part 70 because I got pressed steel wheel 9-bolt rims to go on here, so that them extra axles and housings got 9-bolt hubs on it. So I want to get them new bearings put in them and swap them out, because the axle bearings on this one are pretty noisy. And the smoking is kind of a problem too, so I don't know. Guy needs to have the head gone through and re-ring it or something. And then last but not least is my Wrangler wheel loader. I actually bought this from the place I work at. They did a bunch of work to it, and then it had issues again, so then they didn't want to stick any more money into it. And I used it for quite a while the way it was. Just had to really baby it. Had to put a new rim on here once. The rim was so badly rusted. And let me tell you, they don't give them rims away. And I bet you I used it about 5 years or so. Then finally I had to do some major work to it. Had to get the head redone. And did a bunch of other stuff to it. Got a new air filter housing because the one on there was all rotted out. I mean, these things are usually used in fertilizer places, so she's pretty well rusty on a lot of spots. But the head, originally these things, would have a John Deere diesel or a Ford gas engine. This one somebody retrofitted with a Perkins diesel. I mean, nothing wrong with the Perkins. I really like it. It works good. But for some reason, the Perkins, just certain models are not popular in the US, and then in Europe they're everywhere. My head had actually been cracked and repaired once already, so they couldn't repair it anymore, and trying to find another head, that was almost a nightmare. But luckily the place that my head and I'm going to, they had one sitting on the shelf. Granted, it was cracked too, it still needed to be repaired, but they had one that had not been previously repaired, and it was missing some stuff to it, so they had to take stuff off of my head and fix that other head, and then I had a good working head again. Granted, that was $3,000 later, and guaranteed if I'd go over to England, I would have found one of them sitting on somebody's doorstop holding the door open. But anyway, that's enough about that. This thing's just extremely useful. I use it a lot. Granted, winter, she's kind of cold-blooded, so when I get down to 50 degrees or less, it's got to get plugged in or a snort of ether. But for the price I paid and for what I got into it, I couldn't ask for a better machine. I mean, I use that almost more than I use my two tractors that I use all the time. So, well, hopefully y'all liked equipment tour number 1. Kind of got a little long, and then, well, I suppose there too I got spare combine tires, as all them are. So here we go. Till next time, take care, y'all. We'll see ya.